Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda, and please welcome to our Operation Freedom platform, WeThePeopleProcessing.com. You know, are you tired of being threatened to be canceled just because you have a company focused on liberty and freedom? Well, worry no more, folks. WeThePeopleProcessing.com is your go-to merchant services, freedom-based company to provide business service payment solutions. We the People Processing provides their clients a cancel culture-free platform which is domestically based. They provide competitive rates, no contracts with next-day funding, a fully vetted and like-minded financial infrastructure, and full support for integrations, implementation, and e-commerce efforts. Bottom line, WeThePeopleProcessing.com focuses on defending your company's free market growth, values, and future. Check them out at www.WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Once you're on the site, enter in password Operation Freedom or call 855-499-2024. That's WeThePeopleProcessing.com. Then, when on the website, enter Operation Freedom as your password or call 855-499-2024.
Mr. President-elect, go ahead. Can you state categorically? Mr. President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude. No, I'm not going to give you a question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir.
I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to Dave Vs The MSM. I'd like to thank you for joining me today. We are available 24/7 at davejanda.com. Extra shows, extra content, extra guests, extra analysis, archives to all of our shows. We hope you become part of our Freedom family. Tremendous amount of free public information on our site that you'll never get from any other source because that's the only source I do content for. But in addition, we have the most in-depth dissection of geopolitical, financial, healthcare-related events on that platform as well. 30 cents a day, $9 a month. I cannot go into depth on this platform or any social media platform or frankly on my radio show because of choke points that are put in the system, which is why davejanda.com exists. We hope you become part of our Freedom family. The topic of today's presentation is the cult, the globalist cult versus us, the peasants. What they fondly, I use that term loosely, what they fondly call the useless eaters. The globalist cult had their annual meeting in Davos, Switzerland. It was billed as the power meeting of the year. Actually, from the word I got of some people who were not attendees, but were present in the community, let's say, it was a panic event. Mm-hmm. No, I know you haven't heard this in the bought off lamestream fake media and all that. No. Yeah, that's the word I got. And I trust these sources. They're panicked. Why? They got it all. They got their private jets. They got their money. They got their positions of power. What? Panicked. I'll tell you how you can... One thing that did come in public that showed their panic. There was some phenomenal independent journalists through Rebel News, led by Ezra Levant, who found some of these cats wandering around town and followed them and asked them questions that you and I would ask them. You know, like the CEO of Pfizer and Klaus Schwab and you know, like some governors that were there, like Kemp and they were like deer in the headlights. We can't. They were panicked. Why? Because they had brought in 5,000 Swiss army personnel to protect them. Well, wait a minute. If they're so loved, if the public and Oh, thank you for stripping me of my freedom and liberty. If they're so low, why did they need that? In fact, some people I know who are they're around Davos a lot, not just this week in January, but throughout the year. They tell me that they have always had a security presence there when they have this meeting. Not like this. This was off the charts. And then you look at the list of invited attendees. World Economic Forum 2023. Record attendance expected at the Davos for the World Economic Forum. List of attendees in the World Economics Forum Annual Summit in Davos includes FBI Director Chris Wray. Interesting. In fact, I'm sure he would always be on the list because he's been a globalist since the very beginning. We've told you about this. But now he's just a little more open about it. The CEOs of Amazon, BlackRock, and Pfizer, top officials at the Gates Foundation and the Soros Network. By the way, of note, Klaus Schwab did show up a little late. George Soros did not. Bill Gates did not. Why was that? Because of the awakening of the public. Yeah. The publisher, the New York Times, among other record 52 heads of state and nearly 600 CEOs. 52 heads of state and government attended, next to 56 finance ministers, 19 central bank governors, 30 trade ministers, and 35 foreign ministers. Heads of the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, the World Trade Organization, among the 39 leaders of international agencies. From the United States, John Kerry, the energy czar. Where is that in the Constitution about an energy czar? Avril Haines, the Director of National Intelligence. Samantha Powers from USAID. When you hear USAID, you think CIA. Okay. Governor Brian Kemp of Georgia. Why was he there? He did such a bang-up job in the 2020 and 22 elections. Oh, thank you, Brian. Come on over. Gretchen Whitmer. Yeah, the incompetent commandant, the governor here in the state of Michigan, right? The Colonel Klink of governors. Gretchen Whitmer to speak. What was she there to? She was there to speak on how to bring manufacturing to a area. Oh yeah, she did a great job when she wasn't locking everybody down and having businesses leave the state in droves. But they wanted to put her arm around her because oh Gretchen, you were great with sending those COVID positive patients to COVID negative nursing homes, and thousands died, and then you hid the data. That brought you right here, girl. Yeah. Senator from West Virginia, Joe Manchin. Senator from Arizona, Kristen Sinema. Wait a minute, I thought they were kind of independent. Oh, no. Wolves in sheep clothing, right? Every banking, tech, big pharma, big insurance, and media company, including CNBC puppets and Fox puppets such as Maria Bartiromo. Oh no, she sits on the Council on Foreign Relations. Listen to the interviews I've done with Helen Chapman when she brought up J.P. Morgan Chase and their involvement with Bernie Madoff. No. Wolf in sheep's clothing. And let's not forget the Godzilla of all the criminal banking establishments. Jamie Dimon from J.P. Morgan Chase was there. Yeah, they were all there. Who wasn't? While the Russian delegation will be conspicuous by his absence, one has to wonder why they were shunned, right? Well, maybe because of Putin and because of Russia, maybe that's one of the other reasons why they had 5,000 Swiss Army personnel there and their own internal police force there. This from John Rubino. Things we should understand. The aristocracy is trying to eat the peasants. Most people, especially most Americans, still seem to view the events of the past half century as more or less random. Now look, I put an interview I did up with Lieutenant Colonel Craig Roberts, one of our country's foremost, in the past, snipers and still trained snipers. Also, was one of the principals in the Tulsa Police Department and involved in their SWAT programs, okay? After he got out of the military, but still trains snipers. He is a phenomenal investigative author. And in that interview that we have posted here, we spoke about what happened in Dallas in 1963 and what happened in Oklahoma City and what's happened with a number of other events. So when Rubino says, "I still seem to view the events of the past century as more or less random," Lieutenant Colonel Craig Roberts connects the dots. He has some great books. The Medusa File, in particular, the Medusa File 2, about government cover-ups and government corruption. Booms and busts erupting out of nowhere, impoverishing all but a handful of lucky elites. Political crises that end up dividing rather than uniting. Wars that cost fortunes and resolve nothing. Everything is bad and nothing is related to anything else. But of course, that's not true. Each of the above events serves the same purpose: to enrich a modern aristocracy at the expense of everyone else. Yeah, the Davos gang. And the end game is looking even worse. By the 1990s, it had become clear to the people running major governments and big corporations that unsound money would lead to unsustainable debt, which in turn would destabilize the financial world and bring about a hyperinflationary depression, followed by a French Revolution-style reckoning for those responsible. That generation's elite were thus left with two choices. One, return to the gold standard and avoid monetary collapse, but at the cost of giving up the ability to create money at will, which they currently do through their reserve banking system. That was option one. Option two, or use their fictitious currencies to steal as much real wealth as possible from the peasants and let future elites deal with the eventual collapse. They, as the sociopaths we now know them to be, chose the second strategy. And this is why the panic was beyond palpable in Davos this January. Because through the independent media and through you speaking to those you know and love and educating them with the data and the facts and the science of what's really going on through the information you obtain through this platform and other independent media platforms, you in the process this past year have led to the awakening of millions, hundreds of millions of people around the world. And they were panicked in Davos because the awakening says, wait a minute. They're using their fictitious currencies to steal as much wealth as possible from all of us. And now those currently in Davos have to deal with it, and they're panicked because they don't know what to do. I mean, they tried. See, they thought their fait accompli, right, was the past 3 years, what they were doing with their, right, pathogen and their this, right? And they thought that would break you and everybody. And it didn't. And then they're trying their supply chain issues and their attack on the energy industries around the world and their chaos machine. But it's not working. So they're circling the wagons. And they're saying, look, we're at a point where we've got to have 5,000 people protect us here. We're at a point where they weren't supposed to get any media people in here. And then we got these people from Rebel News wandering around asking all of our puppets their questions. And they're panicking. And we're panicking here because we got problems. So if you dissect, what do they have left? Oh, they always have another pathogen around the corner, yes. But when they pull an operation, and once they've pulled it, and it hasn't quite, it worked, but it didn't work, they tend not to go back to that right away. So their big panic right now is their plan was to their bailout plan on the financial side, which is all they really care about, was to get rid of the dollar. and to introduce a new reserve currency of the world. And that was their special drawing rights, their so-called SDRs, a basket of currencies that they created. But now we got this Putin and Xi guy, the Putin guy and all of his people that weren't invited. And they were Soros and Schwab. They were all talking against Xi lately. By the way, Soros was so panicked, so was Gates. They didn't even show up to this Davos meeting. Schwab did, late, but did. And now there's rumors going around that the banking families, this gets me in trouble too. And the Pesur family at the very top of the pyramid, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, Lazards, the Pinkuses, the Warburgs, the Sieves, the Loebs, The banking families aren't happy with Schwab because he's not getting that totalitarian ball down the field too. So, as of when I recorded this, Schwab is still there at the World Economic Forum. We'll see how long. Because as they move Joe to his garage, Basement Joe to his garage, to get him out, just like they move Boris Johnson out, just as they move Ardeen out of New Zealand, just as they, right? Well, it looks like it might be a good old Clausies, that Bond villain's time to hit the highway, bud. You're not getting it done. So their basket of currency thing isn't working out. Now they got the BRICS countries, Brazil and Russia and China and India and South Africa and where else? Indonesia and Saudi Arabia and all these other countries saying, hey, we want to be a part of that. Where you have a sound currency like that's backed by something like gold and silver and oil and natural gas. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Yeah. They're so worried that they have lost control of this narrative. So now what's left in their quiver? Well, one of the things that's left in their quiver is to introduce central bank digital currencies. And they actually tried some beta tests, some rollouts around the world, and didn't work out so well. And they're panicked. They're panicked because they're saying, wait a minute. If we're taking down the dollar system and these guys who kind of left the reservation, Putin and Xi, and they're doing the same thing, but they're going to control it all. Whoa. And we got this problem of all the peasants, the useless eaters, they're awakening to the fact that, So Henry Kissinger said years ago, and I've told you this quote before, if we control the food, we can control the people. If we control energy, we control continents. And if we control the financial system, we control the world. Well, they're seeing a problem across the board. So one of the arrows left in their quiver is to introduce these central bank digital currencies. But the more the independent media speaks about this, which is why we focused on this for a period of time, the less viable that becomes because people become awakened to it. And remember, their ultimate goal is to keep you hungry, keep you thirsty, keep you cold, and keep you in chaos. So one of the arrows that they have left is the hunger part. Because if you're hungry, you get sick. If you're hungry, you don't have energy to oppose them. If you're hungry, you don't think straight. This from Colin Todd-Hunter. Of economic crises and pandemics, Facebook is fact, government is truth, big pharma is God. If events since March 2020 have shown us anything, it is that fear is a powerful weapon for securing control. Any government can manipulate fear about certain things while conveniently ignoring real dangers that a population faces. Author and researcher Robert J. Burrows says, if we were seriously concerned about our world, the gravest and long-standing health crisis on the planet is the one that starves to death 100,000 people every day. No panic about that, of course, right? Because who dies? Do the Rothschilds die, or the Pesurs, the Rockefellers die from lack of food? No. But useless eaters do, like you and me. No panic because the controlling interests of the global food system have long profited from a stuffed and starved strategy that ensures people unnecessarily going hungry when corporate profit rather than need dictates policies. Okay. The magic words they don't want you to know are food security. Now, when people hear food security, you think, oh, you mean making sure that the food won't get you sick. No. Food security is about making sure that food is adequately distributed to eliminate starvation and hunger. And when it comes down to it, folks, that's the last arrow they have in their quiver. You see, I believe, not in public, but I'm confident in saying this, one of the most important issues they were discussing behind closed doors was about food and food supply. So you need to educate your family and friends, because people that live in the West think, I'm never going to have any food. We got plenty of food. I go to the grocery store. It's a lot more expensive than it used to be and should be, but I can still get food. I get it. But that's where they're going. The cult sees all of us as peasants, as useless eaters. And they're at wit's end because their playbook isn't playing out the way they wanted it to play out. And then they got some players that have gone a bit rogue on them. And they're losing control of the financial system. And they're losing control of energy. People have gotten wise to this green agenda and their man-made climate change. Food. Storable food, storable water for yourself and your family. Best company I know of that does that is Numanna, NUMANNA.com. 2, speak to your loved ones and friends and family about what's really going on so they can protect themselves. And then you need to confront at a local level, state level, and federal level, those that are involved in the world of politics, whatever that is, and tell them to your wise what's going on and what they're doing about food security, about food supply chains. And if they look at you with a blank stare, tell them, do something about this to secure our food supply for everyone. Not just a select few, but everyone. Because if I don't see action out of you, then our community is going to find someone to run against you and remove you from your big fat leather chair for someone who cares about the food security of everyone in our community. And we will make it so that you do not even get elected through the primary. You see, politicians fear two things. One, not having enough money. And two, being on the wrong side of an issue that the public has become awakened to. Yeah, you do have power over that. Contact every one of your elected representatives and let them know. Food security. Those are the terms they don't want you to know about, because that's what they got left in their quiver to implement their agenda of more power, more control, and obtaining more financial resources. It's preventable. All of it. You just got to call them out ahead. That's what this is about. I thank you for your time today. We are available 24/7 at davejanda.com. Tremendous amount of free public information. And, of course, the subscription content. priceless information that I can only provide on our website. I cannot provide it on a social media platform. I cannot provide it on radio because there are deep state choke points at all levels that would block us permanently if we did that. And that's why DaveJanda.com and the subscription service exists. 30 cents a day. 30 cents a day. Don't give me this business you can't afford it. 30 cents a day. One pizza. $9 a month is one pizza. The best deal on the face of the planet at Costco. It's worth it. That service, that content, I have been told, has saved countless lives because of what we present. It's not an overstatement. It's fact. We hope you become part of our freedom family. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for joining me today.